Hello everyone, welcome to Mentors for IAS. This is a very unique initiative in the history of UPSC mentoring. Here, we are going to mentor the students in all the stages of the examination, that is civil service examination. So be it prelims, mains or interview, we are ready and happy to help you. As part of this, we are conducting a mains mentorship program for this year, that is 2024. So especially for the mains examination, right from the content, strategy, and whatever that is associated with the mains examination, we are going to handhold the students until they clear this examination. So as part of that, we have made some strategy videos, so which is nothing related to the content, but it is related to the planning for the examination, so which generally the students miss. So they keep on reading, but they fail on the planning part. Again, they will continue this journey repeatedly for many years as long as they have the attempts. But this is a very sorry fate in the field of mentoring, that nobody tries to understand the non-academic part of the examination. So we, as part of Mentors for IAS, we are trying to identify the mistakes that the students generally do, and we are trying to rectify those with our experience. So as part of this, now I'll be dealing with the importance of illustrations. Importance of illustrations. Illustrations means these are the things which are not textual in nature. They are not textual in nature. Yeah, we'll be having data, we'll be having the content under them, but these are generally the suggestive part, suggestive. Without expressing in the words, sentences, and paragraphs, we can express the answer in different formats. So generally, any examination, be your 10th board examination, 12th board examination, or the degree examinations, or any competitive examination, any evaluator would expect some supplementary material along with the answer, be in the form of diagram, be in the form of flowchart, be in the form of map. They will be expecting some cherry on the cake, which generally the aspirant fail to cater. If you look at the toppers papers, at least in 60% of the paper, they'll be having these illustrations. So let us know what are these illustrations first. So illustration come in many ways. It is up to the human imagination that anything we give it as an illustration, and try to conserve the time here, or save the time. Don't draw very beautiful diagrams like which come in the art and architecture or art and culture. So there the temple architecture, very beautiful carvings, all that thing you cannot. Maybe it is a matter of 15 to 20 seconds. One particular illustration should take around 15 to 20 seconds to basically the outer part or the suggestive part. And the content part, yes, you can take more time. So if you look at different subjects, we have different types of illustrations. If you take the history questions, definitely you can write the answer along with the timeline. So for example, anything related to the modern history, you can start from 1857 and you can end up at 1947. Take anything for that matter, maybe the women's participation in the freedom movement. So you can divide according to the timeline. Something related to the art and architecture. Maybe you are going from the Harappan civilization to the current date. You can divide it on the timeline. When you write the timeline in the history questions, definitely the evaluator is going to like. So around 6 to 7 questions you'll be having pertaining to history. If you produce around 3 to 4 illustrations, then it's a good number. So generally 60% of the paper, at least, it should be having some illustrations. Even with respect to maps, for example, during Mauryan period, what was the extent of their rule? So if you draw it in the diagram, or with respect to the modern era, maybe let's say zamindari system or raitwari system or mahalwari system, where they were like prominent, you can mark in the map. Again, the maps would help in the history questions. And when it comes to the geography questions, without map, your question looks very pale. So it looks like a doctor's description without like telling any medicine for that. So you should have some illustrative maps for geography, or When it comes to some of the questions related to physical geography, especially climatology, oceanography, and all those things, you should have a suggestive diagrams. For example, ocean currents. So you should have like the upwelling, downwelling, or when it comes to the ocean currents in the northern Atlantic and the southern Atlantic, you should have like some suggestive diagrams, without which the geography will not be fun. So when it comes to other illustrations, so comparisons, especially in the history questions, compare Gandhi and Nehru, compare Nehru and Vallabhbhai Patel, or compare the Constitution of India to American Constitution. So many such things, or compare the tropical cyclone to temperate cyclone, or tropical mangroves to the this one, or with respect to corals. Many things you can divide in a chart. Wherever possible to put a table, kindly put a table, because clinically you are going to get more marks, because they are more kind of bullets. So indirectly these tables are nothing but bullets. You are going to get more marks. And block diagrams. So generally when it comes to some of the schemes, some of the social programs, or some of the economic things, so you can generally make the block diagrams, but don't have like the common approach, like for every question you are putting a block diagram. It should not be like that. So there has to be variety across the questions. You should have variety, maybe few maps, maybe few timelines, maybe few block diagrams, maybe few charts. So especially in economy, we can put the charts. So charts, so basically cycles. For example, national income, if it increases, then the savings increase, then the investment increase, then the production increase, then the export increase, then it leads to the forex growth. Like that you make charts. So economy, it is very much valuable, like putting the flow charts like that, according to the need of the subject, according to the need of the question. You try to keep these things in your head. So basically when you put these things, your answer looks very rich. And again, when to use what kind of flow chart, so that also matters, because in the previous video I told you, you have to divide your risk in well-known questions, moderately known questions, and least known questions. So 12 very good questions, that is well-known questions, 4 moderately known questions, and 4 less known questions. Again, here how you have to tackle with respect to the illustrations. So when it comes to the well-known questions, when you are writing the well-known questions, that means you have written full about it. You know everything about that. So here, not to cut half a mark, not to cut half a mark, you have to do all the efforts to impress the evaluator. Evaluator should not think of cutting even a half a mark. So there, along with the content, you are complementing the illustration. So anyways you have written well, but the illustration is also telling the same thing. Then the evaluator will get convinced that you know full about that particular issue. Then when it comes to the moderately known questions, so these are around 20% of the questions, let's say 4 questions. These are the moderately known questions. Anyways, you know that you can't fill the pages. You can't fill the pages. You have limited paragraphs because you have limited knowledge. In that aspect, you give the illustrations as supplementary. So you have written content in half of the space given. In another half of the space given, you put the illustrations. In another half. So it looks like though you are repeating this, but the evaluator cannot ignore this thing. So evaluator will understand, oh, this fellow has put in some effort. Though he has written less, he is honest and he is trying to represent his knowledge through these illustrations. So here you will get some +1 as the bonus. Here we are not trying to lose any mark. Here we are trying to gain few marks. And coming to the last, that is least known questions. Let's say 4 in number. And as I told earlier in my sessions, last 4 questions will be left with around 20 minutes. So we have to address each question in 4 to 5 minutes. That is the like the climax of any aspirant. So last few questions, 20 minutes. Last 4 questions, 20 minutes. So here you are not giving the illustration either as complementary or as supplementary, but you are trying to replace the entire answer with the illustration itself. You are trying to replace the entire content because you don't have that much time. So maybe the entire illustration itself is your answer. So there, the evaluator will try to understand, because at the end of your paper, you are trying to write that, because your handwriting will also be evident that you are rushing out of the time. So that person will try to understand, and he will try to give maximum marks for the illustration itself. Because throughout the paper, with honesty, you have earned the respect, because you have written very well in known questions. You have written very honestly, that is in the moderately known questions, and in the least known questions, you are trying to represent only with the illustrations. With this, the evaluator will try to give around 1.5 to 2 marks for your illustration. For example, the last question that you are attempting is the agriculture reforms. And you know that you have only 3 minutes. You cannot explain each and everything. So here simply you will write agriculture reforms, and under this you will write abolition of zamindari, and here you will write the tenancy reforms. Here you will write land ceiling act, and here you will write the consolidation of the land holdings, and finally computerization of the land records. So if you write this with a minimal, like minimal bullet points with some examples, I think for this chart you will get around 1.5 to 2 marks. So that is worth it. So finally, in the well-known questions, you will score around 90 marks out of those 12 questions. And in the moderately known questions, you will score around 15 marks. And in the least known questions, finally, you will end up in getting around 10 marks. So overall, again, around 110 to 115 marks you will get. So again, the smaller or the minutest of the things like this, we never understand. So if you look at your answer papers at the end of 3 hours, you will see that hardly you have given any illustrations. But according to my experience, I would tell that at least in 60% of your questions, you should be writing illustrations, because it is going to increase the aesthetics of your page. So that will ease the stress of the evaluator, because reading only in terms of the textual details, again, it will bore any evaluator. So you should be giving some what I would say, the relaxation to the minds of the evaluator also. So these diagrams or the maps or the charts will ease the stress of the evaluator, and that will indirectly help you to get more marks from that evaluator. So like this, you have to understand many nuances of this examination. It is not about just content, writing. No, you have to think about these things. That is why we are running this very unique initiatives under Mentors for IAS. We are there to help you for clearing this mains. Thank you very much.